Hello, my name is Abigail Foucault. For this midterm project, I will be presenting on the topic organizational culture. Before we dig a little more into what organizational culture is, first, let's define what culture is. In the book published in 2019 titled Organizational Behavior by J. Stewart Black and David S. Bright define culture in a number of ways. First, culture is the collective programming of the mind which distinguishes the members of one human group from another. It is the interactive aggregate of common characteristics that influences a human group's response to its environment. It is the unique characteristics of a people, such as culture is something that is shared by all or most of the members of a society, something that older members of a society attempt to pass along to younger members, something that shapes our views of the world. Finally, culture affects the workplace because it affects what we do and how we behave. The concept of culture can be very complicated. Let us try to understand it in this way. Culture represents an easy way to understand a people. This is not to say that every member within a culture behaves in exactly the same way. On the contrary, every culture has diversity, but members of a certain culture tends to exhibit similar behavioral patterns that reflects where and how they grew up. A knowledge of a culture patterns can help us deal with its members. Now let's apply the principle of culture to an organization. How can an organization develop and benefit from a form of culture? In 1984, MIT's Salem School of Management professors called Agashen defined culture in his article Coming to a New Awareness of Organizational Culture as the pattern of basic assumption that a given group has invented, discovered, or developed in learning to cope with its problem of eternal adaptation and internal integration, and that has worked well enough to be considered valid and therefore to be taught to new members as the correct way to perceive, think, and feel in relation to those problems. This illustration by Child Ronaldo summarizes the 5 categories of cultural assumptions according to Stein's theories. Assumption about the organization's relationship to its environment, the organization basic assumption about reality, which shapes decision, assumption about human nature, assumptions about the nature of human activities, assumptions about human relationships. Leadership of organizations have a responsibility to adopt the most efficient culture concepts that will promote their cause. Realizing that every organization culture is different and it is important to make one's company unique. Organization leaders must create platforms that breaks down the organizational culture, core values, and mission into clear, easy to absorb pieces. Leadership should establish in its simplest form the organization echoes in all areas from who is hired to how the organization conducts business or operates. Peter Ashworth, a business consultant and an author, wrote in 2020 about the importance of organizational culture that it defines a company's internal and external identity. It defines for all others how the organization does business, how the organization interacts with one another, and how the team interacts with the outside world, specifically their customers, employees, partners, suppliers, media, and all other stakeholders. It is about living your company's core values. The culture can be a reflection or a betrayal of the company's core values. The way in which one conducts business, manage workflow, interact as a team, and treat your customers all adds up to an experience that should represent who you are as an organization and how one believes a company should be run. That is, the culture is the sum of one's company's belief in action. In the book Corporate Culture, Terence Dew and Alan Kennedy explored how different types of culture evolves within companies and affects their performance. The author argued that culture is more important than numbers for long-term prosperity. They also provide examples of successful and unsuccessful corporate culture to include the tough guy macho culture, the work hard, play hard, the bet your company culture, the process culture, which will, which will all be discussed further in the subsequent slide. For the tough guy macho culture, individual employees take big risks and get quick feedback on the success or failure of their actions. There is a high degree of competition among employees of the company as everyone wants to come on top. To create a high level of stress, and colleagues watch one another for signs of weakness. Teamwork is not encouraged. Corporate heroes comes and go quickly. Organizations that adopt the work hard, play hard culture operate at a relatively low risk. Teamwork is encouraged. Individual employees inputs are encouraged, hence everyone feels relevant. Corporate mission ownership is adopted by each employee, resulting in high volume outputs. For the bet your company culture, employees are required to make decisions for heavy stake but feedback is provided slowly. Though junior employees' inputs are encouraged, top senior personnel make decisions. Risk taking and immaturity are not tolerated. Finally, organizations that adopt the process culture makes process priority. Employees focus on what is done, but on how things are done. Processes are tightly managed by leadership, resulting in a bureaucracy. The culture provides little feedback on actual results. Lack of feedback results in assumed importance to little titles and formalities. These are the sources I used to support my research for this presentation. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.